thank you. That's very good. So first, I apologize for the frustration that you feel about moving the meeting. I moved the meeting because I heard and saw promises to occupy this building today. We may have misinterpreted those promises, but that's what the words on the page said, and I'm not interested in having this building occupied. I am interested in having a dialogue tonight, any other night, any other day, with people that want to talk through the issues about race, about our police bureau, and about anything else that I can have an effect on as your mayor and as the commissioner in charge of police. But I have heard a lot of complaints from the other people that work in this building, many of whom don't work for me, and they did not want Friday to be repeated. So that's why I moved the meeting. Again, my apologies for that, but that's why I did it. Now, I know some of you have some questions that you want me to address. I'm here. I don't know what particular order you want to take those questions in, but I don't have a speech to make, but I'm happy to answer them.
Can we get a line of anybody that has questions for the mayor over here on this side, right here? Anybody that has questions for the mayor, so we can keep it structured and have some form of open dialogue. I'm sure that a lot of people have a lot of questions. If we just do hands, it's going to get out of hand. So if we can just have people line up here next to me, and we will hand the mic off for questions like that. Here you go. And if you could introduce yourself before you address the mayor as well, that would be great.
Hi, my name is Danielle, and my question is we called this meeting today to come out and have this open dialogue. What I'm wondering is how come we weren't able to leave the complaints today, like we were promised last Friday? It was shut down here.
So again, I am interested in having dialogue. Often we do that in this building, but the reason for the change was that some people used the phrase occupy City Hall. And to me, that was a trigger that no, I'm not going to facilitate that. If the conversation with me is the reason the people come in and occupy the building, then I'm going to move out of the building because other people here have to do their work. So I'll meet out here, I'll meet across the street, I'll meet in a restaurant down the block. I don't care. But I also meet in here as long as we're not dealing with that people occupying the building. That's why I did what I did.
If we're not having the meeting here and we were to go to a church, how are we to leave the complaints against the police that we are trying to address?
So, two ways. One, if you have a complaint about the police bureau and how it's operating in general, charlie.hales@portlandoregon.gov or 823-4120, all right? Get a hold of me, let me know. I'm the police commissioner. The police chief reports to me. I hired him, and I can fire him or any other bureau head who, bureau head who reports to me. If you have a complaint about a specific incident, if you have a complaint about this officer treated me this way at this time, you go right in this door on any weekday and go to the I know, and go in this door and you go to independent police review and you file a complaint.
They were supposed to be here tonight.
You can do that again tomorrow. You can do that tomorrow.
Yeah, we can come back.
I told you you could meet with me today.
No, you told that very
and I moved it. Okay, so if that's all you want to talk about, the meeting, that's fine. But if you want to talk about other stuff, we can talk about that.
Yo, I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Mayor Hale, you specified, and all the people that are on TV could hear it, that we were going to meet you here today.
Thank you.
Now, you weren't here today. You called somebody else when you had concerns. That's fair. You had concerns. Somebody said something about Occupy. The word was all the way down here. Nobody messed anything up. We didn't mess it up last week. We don't know who messed it up, but we didn't do it. And everybody had instructions that if you want to mess stuff up, you go make your own group, okay? But you didn't call the people that were in church.
Yes, we did.
No.
Did you agree to this with the people you were supposed to meet with?
Hey, folks, are we going to spend all
No, please, let me finish. No, let me finish. I have the microphone. No, I'm not simply. We need to find a way to get good faith with you again. Because today, when you found out we were here, you didn't come here. I mean, we've been waiting.
No. What I did.
So please, let me finish. We would like a sign of good faith on your part. Because right now it's not there.
What do you want?
What do you have to
Treated with
do?
the same respect as other
You
appointments.
want another meeting?
No, open dialogue is not working. We need change today.
We
This meeting is not supposed to be outside. We should have been filing complaints today in City Hall.
Please. We would like some concrete measures on your part. We would like you to put the officers that are currently accused through the proper channels of being, please be quiet, of being violent towards people. We'd like to put on custody. Just put them on custody, because then they won't do that. That would be a start. Please, thank you.
So we have changed the discipline process. One of the things that is in the police contract that is going to be voted on by the council tomorrow is that we have clear sailing to use the new discipline rules. I have fired 12 police officers since I have been...
Not nice.
I have fired 12 police officers that I'm allowed to fire. I'm not allowed to fire people.
So he's allowed to be a murderer.
Let me finish.
How many have complaints?
I am allowed under these discipline rules to fire people who screw up now.
Right.
I have no authority or jurisdiction over the past. That's the way the law works. I didn't make that law. That's the way the law works. But we have now discipline rules that allow me to fire people who deserve to be fired. And I have, and I will. And that's one of the reasons why this contract is a good contract. Because we have cleared away 11 grievances filed by the union that might have stopped us from using those discipline rules. The union agreed those rules, and the city typically loses those arbitration hearings at the state. Because the way the law is structured, the union has a lot more sway than the city does. I didn't write that law. The legislature wrote that law. Anyway, that's details we'll talk about later. The point is, the new discipline rules are in force, and now under the contract that we will vote on tomorrow, the union is withdrawing its grievance against those discipline rules, and those rules allow me to fire somebody who violates policy, and that's a good thing.
That's true.
Oh, come on, man.
That is a good thing. Can we come to that meeting tomorrow?
Sure.
All right, I'll be in.
What time is it? Start.
Council 9:30, right there.
I'll be there. 12 o'clock, right here. Oh, wait, I've heard that.
Okay, I would just also encourage people that so that we can facilitate this well, to just, if you have something to say or a question, to not interrupt the mayor or the person asking the questions. In the meantime, the mayor has agreed to talk to as many people as need to talk to, so if you want to be heard, you will be heard. Just get in line here so you can ask your questions to the mayor, not while he is speaking, but in like a structured fashion.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, good evening, Charter Hales. Last time I was here and all the people were here, you said you made promises to follow up how the police treated us in protest mode. Have you had any developments on that? Can you tell us?
Yes, I have insisted on some things with the police bureau about how they handle protests. I am not yet completely satisfied that they're following my direction. I don't want to get into specific incidents and specific people. I believe that we should be very restrained in our use of coercive force when it comes to First Amendment demonstrations. Now, the police bureau does have a responsibility to try to keep everybody safe, whether they're people marching down the street or driving down I-5. So I respect their interest in trying to deal with things like which way people are marching on the street. And when people were marching against traffic on Broadway, they felt that they needed to intervene in that situation. So that's why they felt. But this is, believe me, this is an ongoing conversation between me as the boss and the people who work for me about how do they calibrate their response to unplanned and sometimes surprising demonstrations in the street. Again, it's fine that that happens. That's the First Amendment. You have a right to protest. You have a right to gather. You have a right to state your case to the community. I believe all that, and so does the police chief, but they do have a responsibility to try to keep that from being too significant conflict with everybody else's life.
Being parents for the climate talks, I have not had been treated like the way I was treated in Portland, Oregon. The police and parents and the friends was much better than they conducted themselves towards protesters. And I have been in other countries. They have conducted better behavior towards protesters. And I'm curious, two things. How would you feel about modeling our city after that and looking into it? And will we have any developments on that and the last time the promises you made?
I'd be real interested in hearing about cities that you think are doing better. If Paris is one of them, then I'll talk to Mayor Hidalgo, because we try to learn from other cities all the time, not just on police stuff. So I'm serious about that. If you've got examples of other cities that are doing it better, I want to hear about them.
Well, you can go on YouTube and look at it. We can have discussion about it. But even under the state of emergency in Paris, I have never been treated the way I have been treated here in other countries. So.
Hello, my name's Juanita. And one of the things you just said was about the going against traffic on Broadway. Can you explain why they ran us over on the sidewalk on MLK? And where's the police chief? I thought he was supposed to be here.
Right?
As well.
Yeah. Police chief was with me over at Vancouver Avenue Church this afternoon.
With your other meeting.
So again, he's available to have meetings like this. Obviously not right now, but he is. Now I can't comment on every block of what happened on Friday, but I'm telling you, as a general rule, my instructions to the police bureau is facilitate the free movement of that demonstration and keep people safe. Now they obviously have to exercise judgment about how to do that. Sometimes that judgment is spot on, and sometimes it's not. And if it's really badly not, and somebody abuses a citizen, then that citizen needs to file a complaint. Well, they'll still be here tomorrow.
But people are here today.
I hear you, and I'm here right now. So let's go forward, because we can't change the past. I have told you, I apologize for the frustration and anger you feel about me moving the meeting. I moved it because I was trying to keep this building in operation. That's the only reason I moved it.
Filing complaints.
As a citizen born and raised in Portland, it kind of just sounds like you guys are perpetuating the stereotypes that the Black Lives Matter movement is violent and aggressive, and nobody came here last week with violence or aggressiveness. It was the police officers that you guys sent out, and I don't understand why gang task force was sent to the beginning of the protest, the rally that we were having that was extremely peaceful for all of us. Can you explain why the gang task force comes for a Black Lives Matter movement when all we're asking is peace and love?
4 blocks away.
I don't know who was called out or why. I will tell you that a whole bunch of students from Lincoln High School were locked out of this building the other day.
That's not have anything to do with what we were doing.
No, but it doesn't mean that this is the only time, because of a concern about the building being taken over, that we lock the doors.
Gang task force comes
We will find out who was involved in the response on Friday and why. I don't know those details yet. Yeah, and I don't know every detail of what happens at every precinct every day. No, they did not. All right. You can have that meeting with the police bureau.
He's the police commissioner.
You still can. They're going to be here tomorrow.
9:30 in the morning.
9:30 in the morning is the city council meeting. All right, let me tell you what's happening tomorrow morning. 9:30, that happens every Wednesday at 9:30, right there in that room with the shades down. That's the council chambers, and we do all the routine business of the city in that room that day, all 5 of us. So it's not just the police contract that's on the calendar tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff on the calendar. So where is that in the schedule, Deanna? What's that, 9:45? So we'll start on the police contract item at 9:45, and we got other stuff, a couple things before that, and a lot of stuff after that. That's how it works. I'll ask representatives of the police bureau to be here tomorrow morning, same time, in case some of you want to be here for that, to be available somewhere else in the building to talk about the response on Friday. Can we do that, Deanna? All right, Deanna, we'll get that set up. Yes, you had a follow-up.
My name is Andy. I just want to know why black people are getting killed all over the world for just doing nothing. And my mom got kicked out of the garage for being black. That's really offensive.
Andrea, you said that well. I appreciate your leadership. Black people have met with injustice this week and for a long time because there's still racism in the world. And there's racism in America, and there's racism in Portland. There are a lot of us who believe that we can change that, and that we can move from racism to everybody really being equal and everybody being equally safe, so that young black men don't get killed by police officers 3.5 times more than young white men do right now. That's got to change. And so that young black men aren't in prison 10 times as much as young white men. And I believe we can change that in this country. But the first thing we have to change is our hearts, and to say, you are my brother and you are my sister, and we are all equal under God, and we are all equal as citizens of this city. And I believe that, and I think everybody here believes that, and I think most people in Portland believe that. I think most of the people around us in this city are good people who want the right thing. That not that many people are racists, and not that many people want to hurt other people because of the color of their skin. But there are some of those people still in the world, and it's our job to come together and say, we are one, we are brothers and sisters, and that person who is a racist is wrong, and we will try to teach them, but we will also keep ourselves safe from that person. That's what I believe, that's what I believe we have to do. Thank you, Andrew, for being a leader.
Black Lives Matter.
Hello. I just want to say to what you just said, I think people are good in their hearts, but I think many white people in particular have a bunch of unconscious attitudes and teachings that makes them extremely racist, and particularly in what they consider threatening situations. So I went to a COAB meeting about a month ago for the oversight of the police department, and I was fairly appalled, frankly. And one of the things that I was most appalled is they talked about the appeal process that they were working on, and they actually said that community input would come after the appeal had already been decided. And I was so appalled, because that gives us as a community not a way to influence anything. And there was something about lawyers saying, well, that protects the city. But the city is for us. And so what is happening?
So the auditor brought some proposed changes to how that process works to the city council, help me Deanna, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. A lot of people from the community came and said, this is unacceptable and it's cutting the public out of the process. So the whole city council said, wait a minute, this needs more work. So I'm appointing a committee of people from the community that includes Cop Watch and the Albina Ministerial Alliance and others, yes, Deanna is in contact with all those folks, and to come up with an alternative to that new code that was proposed. So that's on hold. It has not been adopted by the city council. We said, wait a minute, we don't think we have this right yet, and we're appointing a committee of people to come together and try to make it better.
I would just ask you to also have people from right here.
Right?
Yeah, I will. Is there somebody from Black Lives Matter who'd like to be on that committee? All right, you? All right, great. Yes. All right. Talk to Deanna. Tall person right there. All right, who's next?
Sorry, we have a line. You'd be about 7.
So, how long have we been having this conversation? Yeah. So why isn't it mandatory for your police officers to take all the classes that are available? Things like how to de-escalate a situation. No, it isn't mandatory. And I'm amazed that you don't know that. Why aren't all these things mandatory? So they get some training, so they know how to talk to people, instead of having a, I'm going to just fuck you up right here attitude.
Well, training is mandatory. If you're a Portland police officer, well, they have the required training is mandatory. Equity training and de-escalation training is required. I know, but that's exactly what each item you want to talk about. But yes, there is required training that every police officer has to go through.
Obviously, there's other training. Why aren't they supposed to keep it all?
don't understand what you're saying. You say there's some classes that are electives or something? I'm sorry. Deanna, help me. I don't know. Okay, well, that's news to me. But again, there is required training that every police officer has to go through.
So why is
It is. What training we provide to police officers? Well, I think, Deanna, the question is, where do people find out what training police officers are required to take? Is that the best way to say it? So is it on the Police Bureau's website? All right. We'll make sure of that. It's supposed to be up on the Training Division's website. So it's supposed to be up there in public what the training is.
Yeah, hi Mayor Hale. My name's Jennifer Lanier. It's good to see you. Yeah, one of the things that I've been very concerned about, and that my wife and my sons are very concerned about, is the problem of the cultural normative piece that we have to fight against as people of color, as black people, as brown people. And I wonder if that might be what my colleague earlier might have been speaking to, because there are some ways of working with the police officers to try to talk about how to not allow that white cultural normative piece to influence them so much that when they stop a person who looks like me, what they see is this other, as opposed to a human like them. And that's a piece of training that I know is happening in some other cities in the United States right now. I know Philadelphia has had a lot of success with that and moving their police departments forward, and a couple of others as well. So my question was, is that something that can be on the board for our police department here in Portland?
Yes, training in implicit bias and institutional racism is part of what we're doing, part of what the chief particularly wants to move forward. We're doing some of that already. I actually took all the command staff through a training about white men's privilege and got a lot of grief from the local newspaper for spending your money to do that. But I think it was money well spent for a bunch of white police officers to learn about implicit bias and institutional racism and unpack a little bit of our own privilege, and we did. And I'm still proud that we did that. It's just one step of a lot of steps that we have to take. And we have this wonderful new equity manager for the Bureau, Al Weatherboy, who is the one addition to the Police Bureau's staff that we authorized in 2014. We added one position to the Police Bureau's budget that year, and it was that job. So we're trying, but we are specifically looking at those training issues and doing them. So we've got a lot more to do.
Hi, I'm James, cop walk, whatever. My question, two parts. What is the new contract that you're trying to speed track? What is that going to, how does that allow us to make it so that certain cops are not allowed to be part of protest events? Like specifically, Kyle Nice, he was the one that instigated many of the aggressions, and he's the one that pepper sprayed people, and Kyle Nice is the one that's killed somebody already. So it doesn't really make sense for him to be, in a position to cause harm to people. And I'm wondering if there is something in this new contract that will allow this to happen, other than the very long process that it takes to potentially fire somebody. I know you talked about the appeals. Now that's going to be away, and that's awesome. Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a process that allows.
So there are things that the new contract deals with, and there are things that it doesn't deal with. And that's mostly dictated by state law, not by what I choose to try to put in the contract. And under state law in Oregon, when a city or any public body negotiates with a public union, we have to get to yes. They have to agree. Okay, it's a contract, not a mandate. So we didn't make that law, but that's the law. And as I said earlier, if the union disagrees with something that's in the contract, they get to take that to binding arbitration with a state arbiter appointed by the State Department of Labor Relations. And we lose most of those cases to our unions when we go up against them, against the arbiters. So anyway, more than you wanted to know. Here's what the contract does address. The main reason we're taking up this contract, maybe some of you will disagree with this, but we need more police officers than we have today because we're 83 officers down, and we are 83 officers below the budget that we paid for. And we don't pay as much as other cities do. Our starting salary, for example, is $49,000. They're paying people $90,000 to come to work in Kennewick, okay? So one of the things this contract does is give a 3% raise over 3 bumps to each of our officers and raises that starting pay. And that was my idea, not the unions. And the reason I'm doing it is classic economics. I want us to be competitive. A lot more in the contract than that. There are 11 issues that the union took to grievance, which means that they would go on to arbitration. One is the new discipline rules. One is body cameras. I won't be able to list them all. But they're all things that you would want to see done, okay? All those grievances are being swept off the table. They're saying, okay, we're not going to argue this anymore. And then we're getting rid of the 48-hour rule that required that we wait 48 hours to interview somebody after a deadly force incident. So that's all what's in the package. There's a lot that's not in the package. Personnel issues like what you just described, not in the package, and we're not allowed to put that into the package. So it's a little bit of the art of the possible. The stuff that we can get addressed in the progressive way that I believe we should is in this contract, and we're going to pay people more. That's it.
Is there anything that we can do as a people of Portland to get it so that Sergeant Nice and other aggressive officers are not allowed to? Like, is there any possible way that we can make that a thing, or is that just no?
It's not no. It's that we get to go forward. Okay? So when somebody screws up now, under the new discipline rules, we're bringing the hammer down. And again, we are imposing that discipline, and it's sticking. Okay? And to the union's credit, I know those are hard words for some people to hear, but to the union's credit, they are not contesting most of those discipline cases, including firing people who deserve to be fired. So going forward, somebody screws up in an egregious way, they're going to get disciplined. And if they screw up in an egregious way that justifies firing, and it's written down what you get disciplined for, like drinking and driving, right? We're not going to fire you if you drink and drive, but you're going to get suspended, you're going to get treatment, and if you ever do it, and you're going to sign a last chance agreement, if you ever drink and drive again, you're out of the force. That kind of stuff is real clear in these new rules.
What about throwing tear gas and macing people at protests?
Yeah. So I know we had a line, but I think it's really important to hear from this woman. So, Mr. Mayor, if you could hear from.
It's really hard to talk to you because I never talk to big public. But as the mother of the child who was killed by police, Clackamas County Sheriff Office, but I'm not talking only Clackamas County Sheriff Office right now. I'm talking about Multnomah County Sheriff Office too. My son, Christopher Kalonji, who got killed by police January 28th this year. Before he was arrested by Multnomah deputy on October 21, 2015. That when he was killed, it was outcome from this previous arrest. He was illegally arrested, I believe, and I know this for sure. He was beaten on head. Then he has PDX, very bad after this. On January 28th, he needs to come to Multnomah County for his previous arrest. I'm sorry, it's just hard to talk to me.
You're doing great.
It's this day, 9 o'clock in Multnomah County Court he needs to be, but he has a mental crisis.
He has a big fear about police, about their action, about like a black child was interaction with them. So this time, Clackamas County was calling to help him. They come and they help. And I lost a child. And child was highly educated about his rights. Why they arrest him on October 21? Because he tells his rights. They need to tell their names to him and they need to show badges. They refuse to do. She made a call 911 that he say, I have this call. He says they refuse to do this and his rights to know why they stop him, why they arrest him. And I need to know why they beat him. And I'm victim of this police brutality. And life is not easy. Not easy every day. Me and my husband, he was here, he was waiting for me, but he had to left. We're living in hell. In hell. And when we hear that somebody gets killed again, it's pain. I'm crying for my son every day, and I'm crying for our children, our brother, our sister. And I'm here with this community. And I want to ask you as a man of power, how long it will be continue? How long we mother who bury our child, brother, sister, how long we will be crying? I know I will be crying all day, but I need to be here to make a changes. I don't know, I'm losing my husband, or another son, or somebody from my friends losing. That's I'm here. We have a rights, and Black Lives Matter, and we want to change it.
Thank you. Black Lives do matter. And I hope all of us can work together so that we don't have any more deaths like your sons. That's my hope and my goal. Thank you for coming. Who else would like to speak?
Don't shoot the messenger here, but apparently we cannot continue this throughout the entire night because there's business that the city has to do in the morning. So I would just ask that we line people up so we can do it quickly so that people can talk and do what they can to keep your questions short and to try and cover your possible follow-up questions in that. And if you could just pass the mic to the next person so that we can facilitate that quicker. So please line up to my left and so we can just pass it down. It would be great. And then we're going to have to stop it after that. We are going to meet with the mayor as an organization soon to where we can have a broader community dialogue that can look as this should have looked today in the near future. So just line up to my left and this young man will be first.
My name is Nicholas, 13, and Mr. Mayor, I'd like to know that, or if, did you want to come out here and have all these people waiting for you at nighttime to ask you questions?
I didn't want it to be nighttime, and I want it to be as many times as we can. So I appreciate you being here. I hope you'll keep coming if you want to be in these conversations, particularly as a young man, because I think sometimes it's hard for the adults who are in positions of power to know what the youth of our city really want. We just had the Moulton Youth Commission next door, and people not a heck of a lot older than you who are taking positions of leadership, and I hope you do that. So I hope we get to keep doing this.
Then how come you waited at the church for 4 hours while everyone was out here waiting for you to answer our question?
I didn't wait at the church. I didn't wait at the church. I went and talked to people at the church, and then I went over here and swore in the young people who were on the Youth Commission to take their oath to be leaders in the city. And that's what I was doing right before I walked over here.
Looking at a leader now.
No. There were 30 or 40 people at the church, and then I went over next door to an hour-long meeting with the Youth Commission. And then I walked over here. That's what I've done since 4 o'clock. Good question.
So I have two questions. The first question is, you opened a dialogue to begin at 4 o'clock, and the dialogue's taking place out on the street because people occupied the sidewalk until they got answers to their questions. So if you open a dialogue at 4 o'clock and you have 70 or 80 people that want to get their questions answered, you could plan to facilitate that in the future in off work, outside of your slavery hours, so they can come address you inside a building instead of out on the cold.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And my second question is, over there in the jail, there's oppression that happens in the jail, and there's supposed to be a way to reconcile those things that happen inside the jail, and it seems very evident that that process isn't taking place. Do you have any control over that, and how do you plan to move forward in that area?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, but the jails here are run by Multnomah County, not by the city. So the Multnomah County Sheriff and the County Board of Commissioners set the policy for how the jails operate.
Yes, my name is Cameron Stark. I am a resident of North Portland. I just wanted to make things crystal clear. How can us, the community, best have our voices heard in this collective bargaining agreement? Because I do not feel that we've had our chance to have our voices represented in this contract.
The best way to do that is to tell me as your mayor and as your police commissioner what you want from your police bureau, and I'll try to get it when I negotiate contracts. I did that this time. I may not have gotten it right. I may not have gotten it all right from your standpoint. But that's how labor negotiations work, is that two people on behalf of the city sit down with each union. It's not just the police bureau. We've got a bunch of unions, and negotiate those contracts. So we've been actually working on that for 6 months. I said back in March at my State of the City speech that we needed to add incentives and raise the pay in order to be competitive as police bureau. Because by that point, we were down 30 officers. Now we're down 80. And I've been working on this for 6 months.
Hi, it's a little bit harder for me to meander over there. So my name is Dustina. Nice to meet you. I know that you feel like we're harping on this. We were here at 4 like you asked us. But the thing is that it's really indicative of the relationship you have with this group of people, that you are a man of business and you show up to meetings that you make, except the one to Black Lives Matter. You didn't show up for us today. And that's really clear in how we all feel right now. So yes, you're hearing that from all of us. The reason that I was here today is I have 2 young men of color as my children. And I want to know why, from the time they're in junior high or high school, the police in their schools are racially profiling them. Why it is that we have police officers in our schools at all, much less, as you heard from the young brother over here, that our kids are already talking about racial profiling at 13, 14 years old. Instead of teaching our kids driver's ed, we're teaching him what to do if he gets pulled over by a cop. It's not okay. And that is happening under your watch. So what are you going to do about it?
We have school resource officers in the schools because the school districts have asked us to put them there. So Portland Public Schools, Park Rose, David Douglas, those are the school districts that are completely within the city limits of Portland. And then we have fractions of a couple of others. They have all asked us to keep school resource officers in the schools. And I know, I hear your concern, but I also hear from a lot of parents who really like that program. There may be a disagreement about that. Yeah, some of them are white, some of them aren't. But I tell you, I hear a lot. I hear a lot from the school district about that subject. So we are actually responding to our partner governments, school districts, and saying, okay, we'll put school resource officers in your schools. So that's why they're there.
And I would suggest that you talk to mothers of children of color, because they would probably have a very different response.
That's a very good suggestion.
When I was, can I finish?
When I was a child and I skipped school or did something stupid and got in a fight with a girl in the parking lot or whatever, I got suspended for a day. I didn't have a police officer shoving my head into a desk. So that's the problem I have is, like, I think that we handled it pretty well when I was a kid. What's happened that now that's what happens?
That program existed before I got here. The reason I haven't changed it is because the school districts make a very loud plea to have those school resource officers. They have also done some good. I understand that there may be some concerns. I take your point about talking to moms of color, and I'll do that. So starting now and more later. I've also seen those police officers do some good. John Romero, who was the school resource officer at Wilson, got in a gunfight with a guy across the street from the school who had chains bolted to the back of his van who was stalking the girls at Wilson. Most of the Wilson parents are pretty glad that John Romero won that gunfight. So I've had some good done by those school resource officers, and that tends to support the school district's plea to keep them there.
Can you name another example?
Can I name another example of school resource officers doing a good job? Yeah, I hear from the David Douglas School District that their school resource officers done a great job of getting to know the immigrant and refugee kids that now make up the majority of that school district. 55 languages spoken at David Douglas. It's the most diverse school in the state. So that's what I hear from the administrators there. If the parents feel otherwise, I need to hear from them.
Those are lies.
My name is Richard. Mr. Hales, I'm probably not going to vote in this election. There is an issue for the last 7 years who I've worked is what is famous for part of the African American community, and so a lot of these communities have been degentrification out. And the reason why I'm not going to vote for either candidate is I want African American people to have more options than joining gangs and drugs, where they have the ability to be somebody in life and have the same kind of middle class that I have. And in the country at whole needs to what your committee should do is, instead of hiring all these wealthy developers to put all these people out, rebuild that community for the black community, not these big rich corporations that are going to boot everybody else, because the African American people, for all they have suffered for 200 years in slavery, and after that should be that's their home and that's their home turf and what they built. You should not be allowed, I don't say allow the system to out them, to gentrify their neighborhoods where they grew up. That should not be allowed. These entities, no, this is their home, this is what they built. Put the money back for these African American communities where they have hope and they have futures instead of the military, where there's actually hope and restore the American dream.
Thank you. Since I'm off duty and after hours, I can be political. And let me tell you, I hope you do vote in this election. I can't imagine an election in which it's more important to vote than this one. I'm not on the ballot, but I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I hope you do too. Well, you can vote for Mr. Trump if you want to, but those are the two choices left.
Mr. Hill, today I was out on the Springwater Trail area out by 114 on Foster. And there are people right there who a few days ago got a notice that said, between 24 hours and 7 days from now, we're going to come and uproot you. And we're going to send you God knows where. We don't. And you don't. How can you possibly justify continuing to push people out of spots where they have managed to cobble together a little shelter to nowhere and spend the money on not solving the problem instead of sending around services, law enforcement to patrol just like other citizens' dwelling areas and neighborhoods, sanitation just like other people who live in houses, because these are still your citizens even if they don't have a roof. You said that you want all your citizens to be safe and to be warm and to be well cared for. Then how can you say those words and still continue to sign off on these policies that are pushing people from pillar to post and, quite frankly, killing some of them in the process.
Put it in writing that you got to sign that contract tomorrow. Right? Put that
So
in writing.
we won't go into the whole homeless and housing thing tonight, but let me tell you that what this city is doing, and I'm part of it, in terms of funding affordable housing, and in terms of opening more shelter space.
How do you justify moving people when they got nowhere to go?
Because the spring
That's the
water
question.
became toxic for them and the people around them. It did, because the spring water corridor became toxic. For the
Yeah,
people
because
there
you didn't
and
send
people-
nobody to clean it. You didn't
You
send them
didn't put women
sanitation
that were being
services,
trafficked in some of those tents.
and you didn't send law
Needed
enforcement
help.
to suppress it, did you?
I think we've had that conversation.
No, we haven't, Charlie. We haven't had that conversation. That's why we're here. This conversation and many others, and they will continue.
Hey, again, I'm Danielle. Last Friday, my daughter, she's around here, my sister and myself. Many of these people and many more, we marched 8 miles. 8 miles. Okay. And you told us that we come back Tuesday at 4 o'clock to say these file complaints, do these things with you and the chief. Right now, it's whatever time it is. I'm wondering, from Friday until now, since we were locked out, have you guys anything done? What's the point of this if we're just going to keep talking about it?
I would say we've gotten a lot done. You mean between Friday and today on how the police bureau works?
I mean, all the answers to questions that everybody has. I don't feel like anything's getting done. I feel like you shut us out today. I feel like the
Laying our right to due
we
process.
were able to make the complaints that you said we were able to make. My daughter was punched in the
microphone.
My daughter was punched in the chest by Officer Nice. Officer Kerwin purposely wore her wheels in the back of my legs for 2 feet. This was addressed. Exactly. I wanted to make complaints for my daughter. Like, look at her. That's my daughter right there. If I can't come and show her that I'm here to stand up for her and protect her and be there for her and show her I'm going to do this and do that, shall I just lay down? And say this is all we have to do because they're going to step over us anyway. Why are we here? What are you doing to actually help us? Because standing here, I think you're giving us answers to our questions. And you're talking back. And you're here with the community. But what have you done?
So what I've done is I have spent 4 years changing the police bureau. It's not done. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. So from Friday to today, no, I am not going to adjudicate police misconduct cases. That's what the independent, you don't want me as the police commissioner or any other police commissioner to adjudicate, no. The police commissioner is not going to decide police misconduct cases. Think it through. You don't want that. The auditor, the independent elected auditor runs the independent police review process that reviews police misconduct. What? Because you have to file a complaint, okay?
You wouldn't let us file a complaint. You shut us out. So he's saying we should have filed a complaint, but we're shut out of City Hall all day today? How does that work?
You still get to file a complaint.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Another day?
Yes.
Another day for my child, my black daughter to sit there with a white
And
top
again, I'm sorry that we closed the building today. That's the reason we closed the building. I'll take one more time. We closed the building and I moved the meeting somewhere else. Because I wanted to have a dialogue with anybody that wants one. We can have that meeting anywhere you want. That's right. As long as nobody occupies this building, we can have that meeting here. Will you promise? Will you promise that no one will occupy this building and the rest of the people here can get their work done? Promise that we'll have it here. So, thank you. We're going to set another date for another meeting.
Do not sign the contract. That's what you need to do.
Alright guys, so don't shoot the messenger here, but the mayor, Chris Dennis has to go.
The master said we gotta go. The master